Howdy, folks. What's going on? This is the Outlaw Hatfield back at you again. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing tonight? Uh, I have got Gizzard Gary with me. How you doing, Gizzard?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And a guy that hasn't been here much in the last little while, Dead Horse is with us. How you doing, Dead Horse?
Good, man. Yo, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Not a whole lot, really. We was talking before the chat, guys. I bought a knife today. Well, let me rephrase it. I didn't buy the knife today. I paid for the knife today. Um, then I probably won't have the knife in my possession for 90 to 120 days. Um, it's a hand built, custom made William Collins knife that I have been wanting for quite a while. Today I said, you know what? I'm just going to buy it. And that's exactly what I did. I splurged a little bit. And when I say a little bit, $280 for a knife. Dead Horse thinks I'm nuts, but that's fine.
No, I don't think you're nuts. I just think, man, that is a ton of money for a knife. That's like, obviously it's going to be a high quality knife, right? Like that's just not an investment a lot of people make, is that kind of money into their knives.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I wanted a knife that I knew I would be able to depend on for the rest of my life. And that's one that not only I will be able to use, but I could pass it on to somebody else when I'm too old to use it. So, you know.
Now, I'm not much of a knife guy, right? Like, I carry a knife every single day, everywhere I go. Like, I've always had a knife on me, but I'm still not like a knife guy. I don't know about all the different companies and brands and styles that are out there. Now, is this guy's name Collins, you said? Now, is this like a well-known guy that
Yeah.
that in the knife world?
He he has been making custom handmade knives for years. And he's got all kinds of videos out there on YouTube. I actually sent him a message today after I bought the knife, asking him if he'd like to come on the show. He said sure, he wouldn't mind. So I'm going to set up a time for that and do a little interview with him. Probably not one of my hour-long interviews, but hey, if I can get 15 minutes with a guy, I'd be happy.
You should wait till you get your knife to do the interview.
Yeah, well, probably, but yeah, check him out, guys. William Collins Knives. Just look him up on YouTube or Facebook. He's there. And the one that I ordered today was the WCSK, which stands for Wood Combat Survival and Kitchen. This is one knife that you're supposed to be able to use in all of those situations. And from the testing videos and everything else that I've seen, it will stand up to whatever kind of abuse you want to throw at it. So,
what is it made out of? Obviously, a little bit. Like, what is there?
It's a tool steel. It's made out of tool steel.
Like an S7 tool steel.
Give me 1 second. If I'm not mistaken, it's '01 tool steel. And he's got another choice. He's got ABL stainless, and then he's got the '01. I went with the '01 because I want a carbon steel knife. Grant you, that's more work, but I needed something that I knew would throw a spark if I had a flint. So that should do the trick. And I intend to abuse the hell out of that thing. I will put it through much use. What about you, Gary? You have any knives that you're proud to say that you're the owner of?
Well, I got a few. Now the ones I buy for myself, I hate to use the word cheap, but I am cheap. Because I'm hard on knives. Generally, I tend to lose track of them or lose them entirely. I've been known to. So I tend to buy. Oh, there's a particular. It's a high dollar brand at Walmart by the folks from Ozark Trail, I believe it is.
Huh.
You can get these things for under $5 a piece. But they ain't half bad.
And actually, those knives have been better for me than a lot of like $25 and $30 knives have. Honestly,
They're
they
really
really
not
have.
horrible.
They're not bad knives. It's
No,
like the
They're definitely worth the price you pay for them.
like I've bought in some like Smith and Wesson brand knives, like in the $25, $30 range, that just fail in comparison to the Ozark knives. Honestly,
well, I'll
The
tell you
only,
another.
the only high dollar knife I got is one that I won off of somebody on YouTube, and it's a SOG,
Hmm.
a SOG Kiku folder. It's a good size knife.
I also have I've got a case double X that I paid over $100 for. So, and I love that thing. That's actually at this point in time been nothing but a safe point. I have never carried that knife. I don't know why. I just haven't. It's a great little knife. It's just I see that one that for a specific use. It's a hunting knife, and if I ever get out to the woods again, I'll take it with me. And if I shoot a deer, hog, what have you, then I'll put it to use. But for as of right now, as far as I know, I've never cut anything with that knife. But
And do you use a knife a lot, Ellis?
I'm daily. Whether I'm at work or here at the house or wherever, I'm
now one thing,
probably
like
15, 20 times a day. I'm doing something that requires me to cut something. So
I'll tell you one thing, like if you work in a place where you got to cut a lot of cardboard and open up a lot of packages, stuff like that. Don't use your good knives for that. Like cardboard is just it's amazingly hard on your knife edge. It really is.
oh yeah,
So I always use a cheap knife for stuff like that, to keep a cheap knife around to abuse for, opening boxes and packages, stuff like that. Yeah.
it's funny. The guys at work have been giving me their knives here lately to bring home and sharpen. And it's not that they can't sharpen a knife. It's like one of the guys handed me this old timer he had and asked me to re-bevel it for him. He just didn't like the way the edge was beveled. I said, fine. I brought it home, did a little work on it, worked on it for about 3 days, took it back to him, and took it from that grind that they had. I guess it was a saber grind on it. That's what it looked like, anyway. And I did the best I could to get him a nice candy grind on it. So,
You know what I've been using to sharpen my knives with lately?
what's up?
A Dremel.
No, that'll work, but you got to be careful.
I got a special attachment for it, right? I got given a special attachment as a gift for it that's just for sharpening knives, and or actually it has like one thing for scissors and then one thing for knives, right? So I use the one for the knives, and it actually works like really good if you like mess with the speeds and get it just right. And like once you get it down, like it takes a minute to kind of figure it out. But once you get it down, like, and it's really fast, works pretty damn good. Like I was like, oh, you know what?
I've noticed that here lately, everybody's coming up with these new, ways to sharpen knives. They've got these things with the crossbars on them, and you just take it down one side and then down the other side. I use a stone. I guess I'm just old school.
Well, that's what I've always used as a stone, but you gotta admit that's really time consuming, right? Like
It
to
is.
do a good job, it's super time consuming. It's just not like a 5 minute thing like the Dremel is, right? And I think that's what some of us go for sometimes is like don't get me wrong, if I'm gonna go hunting, I'm gonna pull out the stone, right? But sometimes, like, yeah, if like all of a sudden, like, oh, I just need a quick little sharpen, man, some of those gadgets might come in real handy, nice and fast. And
I'm sure they have their place. I mean, in a survival situation where you're stuck out in the woods or what have you, and you need a good knife and you need it sharpened quickly, then yeah, maybe one of those little, you know, angle sharpeners might do you some good. But other than that, man, just give me a stone. Just give me a stone. Yes, it's a little more work. Yes, it's a little more time consuming. But when I'm done with it, I will have an edge I can shave with. And here's a tip for all of you folks out there that is just grinding away at your knives on a sharpening stone. You do not have to do that. As a general rule, I might actually sharpen my knife once a year, maybe. The rest of the time, I'm just honing that blade, unless I've put it through some extremely hard use. You don't have to sharpen a knife every time you use it. Get you a honing stone or a honing rod and just hone your blades. It's
what
not.
do you?
Uh, what do I use? I got a little metal
No,
rod I use.
oh no, no. I was gonna say, what do you do if you get like a folded edge or a chip in an edge? Like, do you just consider the knife like junk at that point, or do you save it?
No, no. You can fix that, dude. That ain't no problem. I've actually had one charade. I can't remember the specific name of the knife, but it was a huge charade knife, and I chipped the blade in it, and I took a file to it, filed it out on both sides, evened it up, and then I took my regular stones and sharpened it back up, rebeveled it. I mean, yeah, it's time consuming, it's work, but why waste a good knife? If it's not going to hurt the knife to, re-edge it. So now if I have replaced tips on them, re-tipped
And
them.
and to hone it, do you just use like a leather strop, or
Oh yeah, I will use a leather strop. I will use
now as
a
a leather
metal
strop,
rod.
do you just use an old leather belt, or like what do you, or do you have a specific one, or like what do you use as the leather strop?
Just an old belt. That's all you
Yeah,
need.
that's what I use.
Just an old belt. You don't gotta get fancy with it. Um, I can hold a knife on
You
a
want it stretched tight.
car
You
windshield.
want it stretched tight around something, that strap. You want
Yeah,
it nice and tight. Yeah.
yeah. You want
The
it
tighter
tight,
you get that, the better.
and the thing about honing a knife with a strap, you have to remember that you're not cutting toward the grain. You're bringing the knife away from it. So if the blade's pointing towards you, you want to push it the other way and then flip it and pull it back. Uh, you don't want it to be like you're cutting into the leather. You want it to where it's going away from the cut. And normally 2 or 3 minutes of that, and you get a perfectly honed blade you can shave with if it's sharp to begin with. Um, but yeah, man, I tell you what I'd like to do that I've never done is actually try to make my own knife. I've never done it.
I think two of the most popular ways are just either using a railroad spike or a leaf spring from a car. And
Yeah,
I'd recommend the leaf spring from a car because you're going to get a better quality blade out of that than you are the railroad spike. But I think the railroad spike's a little bit easier to do for your first time.
yeah, it's cool, and you come out with some very cool knives like that. Now, what I'd like to do actually is get a and I've seen it. Watched a video on this a while back. The guy took a ball peen hammer and beat it down and turned it into an axe. Well, I'd like to get one of those and beat it down and turn it into a knife.
If you have natural gas in your house, natural gas is good to use if you have it. you can easily plumb in a little line sticking out the back of your house from like a furnace room and make your own little furnace, right? And to mess around with stuff like that, or even run a line out to your shed or your garage, stuff like that. But that's the problem, is usually like no one like gets a big enough bottles or anything like that. That's the problem, is the furnace, right? Like, to making a knife, really, I think that's the main problem, is having the access to something like that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I have never worked metal like that before. It would be something completely new and different for me, and I've never had any kind of training. I know the basic principles.
Yeah, but people were doing this thousands of years ago. Like, so I mean, it can't be that. It's not that. Yeah, it's something I think people could pick up on pretty quick, right? The technique and the fine tuning and all that of like, the perfection's probably what takes a long time, but like the basic skill, it's not that. Yeah. Hey, come on, have you seen some of the guys on like that Forged in Fire show?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's not that. It's not like a rocket science.
No, it's not. But it's time consuming, and you have to know when to hit the metal, how hard to hit the metal. How many times you need to hit the metal to do with it what you want to do, and different weight hammers do different things to the metal.
It's like anything else. That's just practice, right? Practice and trial and error and technique and reading, right? Learning. I think it's something that most people can pick up on, because I know people who make their own knives and stuff, and like some of those people are just like they don't know how to work on their own car, but they've made their own knife. So it's not,
Well, like I said, it's something that I would like to try, just to see if I could make a decent knife. And I'm not talking about something that I would be willing to bet my life on. I'm just talking about just a decent functional knife. Nothing fancy, just something that works. And just figure out the ins and the outs of it. Of course, I don't have any kind of fancy tools or anything like that, so I would be basically doing it like they did it 2,000 years ago. I'd be beating it completely out by hand, sharpening it with files, and it would probably be rough because I really have no way to sand it down and make it pretty and shiny. But I'd give it a go just to see.
I don't know. I've watched some of those History Channel shows, and there's guys still like making quality stuff like that, but like in a traditional way, right? They're not using like machinery. So I think the furnace is the hard part. Anything else you can do is basically files, grinder, like just.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't actually have a grinder, so I would literally be doing this all by hand, and that's fine. I mean,
No, like you can get a cheap grinder for like $10 at like Harbor Freight, so that's not like a big deal.
So
I would like to see you make your own knife, Ellis. You should do that. You should that should be part of your thing. Is that now that you got like a nice badass knife, you should go out and do like a little series. I'm like, oh, look, I'm gonna go make my own knife now.
I don't know if I'd actually try to put it on YouTube. Oh look, Ellis burned his finger off trying to make a knife. Gee.
No, dude, I bet you could do it. I bet it probably after like I said, it probably just takes a couple of tries.
Ellis burned down his house trying to make a knife. Ellis caught the woods on fire trying to make a knife. And there's video proof. Damn it. Should have turned the camera off. And actually, Budget Guns and Gear out there says he's actually going to be starting a knife making video as of tomorrow. So that'll be
see. There you go. You'll have someone else to watch, dude. Like we're gonna have Ellis is gonna go into the business of making knives here. You watch. He's gonna start doing custom knives.
No, let's just stick with sharpening them. I'm good at that part. Somebody else can make them. I tell you what, Budget, you make them, send them to me. I'll sharpen them for you. I will guarantee you'll have edges you can shave with.
What
But
is this shave thing you speak of anyway?
well, it's something candy asses do when they, it, you know, these beardless men that you see, the candy asses, sissy boys. It's what they do to their face because they're afraid to, let too much manliness show on them. Unless, of course, you're talking about, United States military, and then they're pretty much forced into it, which I've never understood. I really haven't. I wonder what Ulysses S. Grant or General Lee would have said if somebody would have told them they had to shave their beard because they was in the military.
Well, there's a reason they had to start doing that.
Well, it was a different time back then too. It's not like shaving was as easy as it is now, right? Like with like running water and like the shaving utensils and.
In World War I, they had to have a clean shaven face so their gas mask wouldn't leak. That's where that all started.
Yeah, I know. But pretty soon we won't have to even worry about that. We'll just have a containment suit and the mask would fit completely over your head. Everything's covered. Be like your a space suit. Your head's in a bubble.
Well, you can wear that if you want to.
So, Dead Horse, what's new with you, buddy? Well, you haven't been on the show in a while.
Oh, just working and stuff, and just finally getting down to the slow time, and I'll be back around more often now. Probably start doing like a Sunday lobby show thing again. So I'll definitely be back around more now. My one of my boys leaves for boot camp here at the beginning of June, and then the other one leaves this fall. So 2 of my boys will be leaving soon for the military, and then so I'll even have more time then.
What branch do they decide to join?
Army and Air Force.
All right.
So I'm hoping the youngest. I'm hoping he ends up. He still has a couple years, but I'm hoping he might end up deciding to join. Marines, Navy, Army, or I don't care what. I'd be okay with hell, even if he said Coast Guard. So.
Nah, that'll be the one look at you and smile and say, I'm going to be a movie star.
Yeah, he's the one who wants to be. I think right now, he wants to be a professional skateboarder. I think that's what he wants to be. And I'm all for that as long as he gets an education, right? And that's something to fall back on.
Well, apparently it didn't go too bad for Tony Hawk.
He's going to end up being something like a veterinarian or something. Like I just know it. He's going to end up being something like that. I don't think he'll go into the military. Like he's thinking about it. And I don't know. We'll see. But 2 of my boys are, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, you should be a proud papa. You did good.
Oh, I am. And see, my one son who's going into the Air Force, he's not going in until this is his senior year of high school, right? So he'll be all done with high school when he goes in this fall. But my middle son, he's only 17, and he's going through boot camp and everything and getting all that done this summer, coming back, doing his senior year of high school, already being a soldier, already doing his 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year weekend warrior thing, right? And still just be a senior in high school, and and then be able to already use his GI Bill along with another bill that he'll be able to get, and be already starting on college classes, on his senior year of high school, working towards his degree, and then hopefully we can, get his degree and cut down that time to like 3 years, right? And then he can apply for OCS, Officers Candidate School, and then try and be an officer.
He's on the fast track, then.
Oh yeah, well he's been in ROTC the whole time throughout, high school, and just so that helps him with some rank. He'll, I think that will make him a E3 when he comes out of boot camp. So he'll, already have a little rank. So.
Huh. Well, what's he planning on doing while he's in there?
Well, he's going to be a combat engineer, but right now, since he doesn't have a degree, he can't be the combat engineer. So he's going to basically be like a combat engineer assistant in the reserves, right? And so he's going to be the combat engineer assistant. So he'll still be able to like learn a lot of the job and stuff like that. And then while he's going to school, get his engineering degree, then he's going to transfer to full-time Army, right? And then, go to officers candidate school and try and be an officer, a combat engineer. So that's what he's going to try and that's what he's going for. So we've had him hooked on the right path to do this. And that's the reason why he went reserves instead of full-time Army, is because if he goes full-time Army, he has to serve his like a 4-year stint, and then he can use his GI Bill. But in the Army Reserves, he can use his GI Bill like right away. He can start using it like right away, and start going to school right away. And plus, in the reserve, since it's only the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, unless you're deployed, he's able to go to school during that time to get his degree. Whereas if you're full-time military, not that you can't go to school, but you're taking like a night class here and there and stuff, and it's going to extend the length to get that degree a lot longer, right? And we're trying to shorten it to as short as possible to get him into officers candidate school as early as possible, right? So our goal is to get him into officers candidate school right when he turns about 21. So, like that's the time zone we're looking at.
Well, that's a good plan. He can go from straight reserve to full-time military and make a career right there.
Yeah, that's the whole plan. And then do his, he'll, because the first several years will be in Army Reserves, right? That doesn't count like as much towards retirement. So he'll still have to do 19 years after he goes full-time or whatever. But after that, he'll only be like 40, right? And be able to retire at 40 with full benefits. And I told him, that's the time where you can open up your own company or do whatever you love to do, whatever it is that you really like to do, and you get a paycheck coming in to support that. So even if the business you decide to go into fails or isn't profiting, you have income coming in to help support your dream, right? And so then you can do what you love, and you only be 40 years old, basically retired, but be able to do whatever he wants. And so that's the kind of path I'm trying to that I've planned for him. So hopefully one day he'll be 40 and just be able to just do whatever he wants, right?
Well, I think you've done a fine job. It's something to be proud of. I mean, he's serving his country. He's a hero, and you can tell him I said so. It's funny. I thinking about that. There's a kid come into work the other day. You know, Marine. You know, we're not far from Paris Island here, and he hadn't been in but several months. You know, out of boot camp just a few months, and they're bashful and they're shy, and they still got that sir, yes sir, mentality going on, and it's great. And I told him, I said, you know what, you're a hero. He says, I ain't done nothing. I said, yeah, you have. You volunteered. That in itself makes you a hero. And he took a step back and he just got this funny look on his face, like it just clicked on him what I was saying. And he's just like, well, thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. And that's something that I challenge everybody out there to do. I don't care where you're at, what you're doing. If you run across somebody that's currently in the military or a vet, thank them for their service. Let them know that they are heroes and that we still support them. Because that's something they don't hear enough of. Every time somebody comes in that shop and I know he's a veteran, it's thank you, sir, for your service. You know, and most of them shake it off, and I understand that because they don't consider what they're doing heroic. But without them doing what they do, ladies and gentlemen, we would not be doing what we do. You know, would we have the freedom to be on YouTube talking the way we talk and saying the things that we say if not for the men and women of the United States military? I doubt it. So, thank a veteran, thank a soldier. You might cheer them up, make their day a little brighter. And that's something you can be proud of. So, what's your other son going to be doing in the Air Force?
He is going into a job basically as like a mechanic to work on airplanes, right? And that's what, because he scored so high on his ASVAB, right? He basically got to pick and choose from jobs available, and the job he wanted wasn't available. And so basically, that's why he's not going to go until later this fall, is because his recruiter is like pulling strings, but we're not stupid. Like, we're getting everything in writing, right? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, and so right now, supposedly his recruiter's pulling strings, and like basically his recruiter has to go to like a base, right? And have like the commander of that base or someone like write a paper saying, I will open this position for this person, right? Like, or I will open another position or whatever, right? And that's kind of like the paperwork we're basically like waiting for, is like those strings to be pulled to open up the job he wants. And he's going to be doing basically the same thing, except going in as a mechanic to eventually hope to be a pilot, right? So like that's what he wants to be. And even if it's not flying like, he doesn't necessarily want to fly like jet fighters, but he wants to fly something, right? And I don't think he just wants to fly. Like, yeah, he's always wanted to fly, so I don't think he'll be too picky about what it is, whether it's a cargo plane, whatever it is. But he's going to do the same thing, go to school, you know, and then hopefully get his degree, and then go to flight school.
When I was a kid, there was a show on television called Airwolf. And you probably remember this show.
Oh, Hawkeye, yeah. Hawk, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, what was the old man's name?
I watched that show and I was like, I want to be a helicopter pilot. Because that just looks freaking cool. And of course, my eyes wouldn't allow me to do that sort of thing, but I would have been thrilled to be able to fly a helicopter. That would have just, been awesome.
Yeah, but they've already they've already been through like MEPS processing, already signed all their final paperwork. It's like we had to sign extra paperwork because one of our kids is a minor, right? He's only 17, so we had to sign all this extra paperwork basically to give permission for him to go to boot camp, like only being 17, and yeah, like it's all done. Like it's all done for as far as he goes. So he leaves this June. We actually got the date and everything. So
That is cool.
I'm
Speaking of
proud as hell.
military, the Marines have landed. What's up, Ghost? We have been joined by the one and only Ghost Tactical.
Hey, Ghost.
The spiritual Marine, you might say.
Spiritual.
Yeah. Well, he's a spirit, ain't he? He's a ghost.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. I would have said haunted Marine, but that'd be a bit weird. Besides, who would want to haunt Ghost?
I have met Ghost. You can see him. He's really there.
Are you sure?
Yep. Shook his hand and everything.
Does he really have baby hands?
No more so than I do.
Even though Outlaw says that he's met Night Strike, I still don't believe Night Strike's a real person.
I've met Night Strike too.
Night Strike is a real person. Okay, well, let me rephrase this. He's half as tall as a real person. Night Strike is half as tall as a real human being.
Are you guys going to Tulsa? Like I've been missing all the chat about that because I've just barely been, like I said, I just barely this this Friday was like basically like my last day at work for a while. So like I've kind of missed all the talk and everything.
Probably not. As much as I've worked at it and tried to figure out how to get there, probably not, man. Because I'm trying, like I said, I'm looking for a place to live. Trying to get out on my own. And once you start adding everything together, and I got to put my priorities in order. And then right now, getting my own place is a little more important than going out to Tulsa. Not that I wouldn't love to go out there and party with the guys, but
party. Is there a party going on?
Oh, trust me. Anytime you're around, Gary, there's a party.
I'm going out there to cover a gun show.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see actual, like, gun content. Like, I want to see, like, actual guns, hear about, like, some of these new companies. Like, I learned about this one new company in Wyoming from the last Tulsa show that makes, like, lever actions and stuff like that, that I'd never heard of before. And that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for, right? New companies, new stuff. What's that?
What company are you talking about?
Oh, I can't remember the name now, but there's an old. It's like a family business, like some small company, and they make these badass like lever action rifles, and I think they made bolt actions too, and yeah, and I think it was just all like old Winchester pattern stuff, but it was like all handmade, quality made. Like someone did a video about it, like from Tulsa, one of the gun channels guys, and that's how I first found out about them. I was like, holy crap! Like I want one of these rifles now.
Ellis has a question for you out there.
Yeah, I see that, and trust me, that I understand what you're saying, Ghost, but the trip out to Tulsa and getting back here would have cost me more than that knife. So
you could have rode out.
We have this great thing called gun channels, and if people and since people are traveling from all over, if like the people traveling from the farthest away picked up the people on the way, and they like pitched in on gas, and like it would probably benefit everyone, and just like carpool, and
Yeah, 'cause you could have rode out with Obnoxious One and Sarge.
Yeah, thought about that. Tried to figure out a way to do that. You have to keep one thing in mind. I do not live close to these people. And I would have no way to get to Asheville where they're talking about all meeting up. So
Take a bus.
yeah,
yeah,
Greyhound, $9 round trip.
there you go. Take a bus from here to Asheville. And I also have to keep in mind that I have limited time off work. So instead of taking 3 days off, I'd have had to have taken 4 or 5 to do that. So it'll happen eventually. Maybe not this year, maybe next, but it will eventually happen. But first things first, I got to work on that whole apartment thing because I really want to get my own place after 2 years. It'd be very nice.
I don't know. Have you watched that tiny house show? I'm telling you, like, yeah, you just buy a little piece of land somewhere and just build you a little tiny house. There's so many ways, storage containers, stuff like that. It's like, I have property up in Wyoming, right up by Kemmerer, and in LaBarge, Wyoming, and I'm thinking about like buying a shipping container and like building a cabin out of it.
That might actually be cool.
Oh yeah, and it'd be secure and like and it'd be like flame resistant, right? Like I wouldn't have to necessarily worry about someone burning it down or something, and just I could build it in such a way to keep it nice and secure, and it'd be nice and easy to plant. Foundation would be easy for it. It just wouldn't be nothing to build because it's basically just pouring foundation and dropping it off, right?
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing you would want is some way to keep that sucker cool in the winter or hot in the summer because it's going to get blistering hot inside it.
You put it in amongst some trees where it wouldn't get direct sun on.
Well, you'd have to do that and figure out a way to run an air conditioner into it.
A generator, just bring a generator up with you. And
Daniel Boone didn't have no damn air conditioner.
Daniel Boone wasn't living in a metal box.
Well, there's probably something you could put over the metal box, maybe to and you could insulate the inside of it, and I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could.
Wait a minute. There's a way around it. I mean, you could put solar panels on top of it.
Yeah. See that, like right there, solar panels and some batteries and stuff.
Yep. Put some solar panels on top of it and use the solar energy to cool it down during the day, and with the batteries you can use it at night. But how much are solar batteries? I have no clue. I've never looked into it.
You don't have to necessarily use like solar batteries. You can use these converters and then use 6-volt like diesel truck batteries, the big 6-volt diesel truck batteries. And you can use those. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where people use those instead. And the 6-volt batteries are better than like the 12-volt car batteries for that kind of stuff. And then they run it through another converter that converts it back to 120 volts to power your TV or whatever you're using.
They always said, well, there's a will, there's a way. So there you go. It'd be an interesting little project.
Well, I've been watching that Tiny House Nation thing and a couple other shows like that, right? And some YouTube videos about like cheap self-made housing, everything from like trailers to stuff like that. And man, I'm telling you, like those It's a lot easier nowadays. If you want a house, like you can build your own house pretty easy now, and there's land available in different parts of the country pretty cheap. Hell, some places have grants that'll like basically give you the land for free if you just live on it for so long.
Well, that would come in handy. Hey, look, you move on this land and you can have it.
Yeah, no, that's still a real thing. Yeah.
Well, I knew they used to do that in the early days of the country. I didn't know they were still doing it now.
Yeah, but it's in very sparsely parts of the country, right? We're talking like Wyoming, Montana. Those are two states for sure I know that have programs like that.
Well, don't they do something like that in Alaska? Don't they do something like that in Alaska?
I bet they do. Yeah, I'm sure.
I know
you got to promise to live on it. Like you basically have to like build a house on it and like live on it. Like that's like you can't. Yeah, you can't use it as like a cabin or like you basically have to live there.
It's interesting. See, there you go, John Z. You can move to Alaska, and they'll actually pay you to live there and give you a place to live.
The only downside to that is you got to live in Alaska.
What's wrong with living in Alaska other than the
It
fact
gets
that it's
colder. It gets colder than the Dickens up there.
I bought a little over 20 acres of land, right? And I paid basically 3 years of back taxes to get it, which came to like $2,400. And then the guy who was kind of like my lawyer in the deal, I ended up paying him like $3,500 for it, right? So it ended up costing me like, close to $6,000 for these 20 acres. But I paid the guy like to do the deal more than I paid for the land. But you can buy land cheap, like still in a lot of places. And I'll tell you what, like land, they're not making more of it, except for the Saudis.
Yes, but would you really like to have land in that part of the world?
I don't know. Have you seen the new land they're making? Those islands and stuff like that. That's all luxury, dude. That's all. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, land's I think a good investment. It's just for like if mineral rights, if even if they don't strike oil on my land, like if they struck oil on the land next to my land, and I can say like, oh, part of this reservoir comes into my land, then I get a cut and stuff like that. And just the water rights and water shares. There's a lot of ways to like make money off of land just by like owning it, let alone, ever even thinking about selling it.
Wow. You heard it here first. Dead Horse is just a greedy, money-hungry oil baron at heart.
I'm just saying.
Never would have figured you for that.
I'd say if you ever have the opportunity to buy land, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters where it's at. Do it. Like if you have the money and it's you think it's a good enough deal and you can afford it, I would say do it. Invest the money. I really would.
Well, here's the thing. If you buy land in the U.S., make sure when you buy it, you get the mineral rights with it. Because a lot of times they do not want to sell those mineral rights with the land.
Yep. And water rights. And your water rights.
Mineral rights and your water rights. Absolutely. They will screw you over on both of them if you let them. Make sure you get those mineral and water rights.
That's why it can be worth, like I did, investing to pay a guy $3,500 to make sure everything's like good, to make sure you get everything, and to do all that. Like it's and to make sure you're getting everything and that you're not getting stiffed on anything. That's why you pay a guy who knows about that kind of stuff. That's why you pay a professional when you're not a professional, right? And you're going into some kind of different field like that, trying to as an investment or as private property for hunting and camping, and
Yeah, you have to be very careful when you start getting into that stuff. Because if you buy land and you don't have the mineral rights, And whoever does can come in and dig holes in your land, dig a well. If you buy land,
Well, and then there can be like prior contracts where like the
Yep.
people previously like already signed a contract to let like a power company come through the land or something, right? Or you can get
lumberyard.
fucked and the people turn out to be selling the land because they're getting fined for not having an access road or something like that that needs to be out there, right? And now you're stuck with it, and now they're coming after you, like the the county's coming after you, like no, you got to have this road and maintain this road, like stuff like that can happen too. Yeah.
Yep. People think that you can just buy land and the land is yours. Well, that ain't necessarily the case. You can buy the property, but somebody else could own the mineral rights to your land, which means they can come in, log it, mine it, whatever else they decide they want to do on what you think is your land.
And you might not even be able to fence off your land or anything like that, depending on the county and stuff like that. So
Just something to think about, folks. But I agree with you. If you can find some decent land, buy it. There's no reason not to. Especially if it has water access.
Yep.
Especially if it has water access, because you would be surprised how valuable that could come in.
Water and mountains. Water and mountains. Yep. If it has any kind of mountain terrain for mining and stuff like that, any kind of mountainous terrain, uh, you know, big, large hills and stuff like that. That's all very beneficial if you ever choose it. You want to mine that place.
That's one thing that was great about West Virginia. There's lots of open land nobody owns around there still to this day. But if you get the right piece of land in West Virginia, you would have access to water coming right out of the mountain, clean water, fresh water. All you need is a pump.
I have to imagine back east though, like everything's probably like lands is probably way more expensive everywhere. I just have to imagine because you're just way more densely populated, right?
In certain parts, yes.
And the states are all like way smaller, and you're just more densely populated. It seems. So yeah, I don't know.
But it's like in West Virginia, you got a bunch of small towns scattered throughout the state, but you don't really have any great big cities. And then you have people that live in smaller, what we call camps, throughout these areas. And some of these quote unquote camps won't have any kind of stores in there. They won't have a school. They'll have a post office. That's about it. And then what I'm describing is the way I grew up. We lived in a community or a camp called Big Sandy, and probably 300 people, maybe. Well, the closest city to where we were at was 10 miles away, or town.
It was called Big Sandy?
Yep.
Same as that machine gun shoot you was just at.
Yeah, different place. This Big Sandy's sitting in the middle of West Virginia. Well, actually, it's not exactly in the middle. It's southern West Virginia, but
is it Sandy?
Not really. Not really. I don't know why they called it that, unless there was a big individual by the name of Sandy that settled there. Maybe that's how he got his name.
Hey, Ellis.
Yes, sir.
Seven Wonders left a message out there. He said tomorrow the Senate has a hearing on National Red Flag Bill. We can go to fightredflaglaws.com and submit a letter to committee members in about 2 minutes.
I reckon that's something we all need to jump on then. I haven't been keeping up with what's going on in Congress. I honestly have not. Um, the last thing I want to do is hear about politics when I get home from work, so I just don't turn it on. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of important. Uh, these red flag laws are going to end up getting a lot of good people killed for no good reason. They're not going to stop violence. They're not going to stop gun crime. And let's say your next door neighbor gets pissed off at you for, you know, your dog crapping on his lawn. Well, he's got guns over there and he just ain't sane. That's all it takes to have somebody come to your house, knock on your door, and take your weapons, barring a psychiatric evaluation. Come on, folks. We don't need that. Not in this country, and they're getting stupid with this crap. They really are. Oh Lord. What was it? I read last week somebody had already gotten killed over that crap in New Jersey. I think it was New Jersey.
Don't know.
It amazes me that they think that laws like this is going to solve anything. That it's going to, keep people safe. When in all actuality, what's happening is
I think it's caused more harm than good.
Yeah.
Way more harm. It's hurt way more innocent people and families.
And that's
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think that they can show evidence for in one single case that they've actually like stopped or prevented any kind of crime or anything, right?
Well, you could say the same thing about background checks for firearms. When has it ever stopped the crime? It hasn't. Ever. Will it ever? Who knows? Think about it. Somebody can come in there right now, do the background check. It come back completely clear. ATF, FBI, everybody says, okay, this guy is good. The guy takes the gun, goes out in the parking lot, and shoots himself in the head. Well, that's a gun crime. But the ATF and FBI cleared this guy to own that gun. Give me a break. It's not going to stop.
And then they use it in the statistics of like violent gun deaths and stuff like that, and gun crime. Yeah, and they twist it all right to fit their like twisted statistics because they don't use like truthful statistics. And then they don't even mention like, oh, we used suicides in this, and we used in this like violent gun crime because they like list it as like a murder.
It has to fit their narrative, and if it does not fit their narrative, then they don't want to use the statistics. We can't use this one because, well, this is, self-defense. But this one over here, this guy killed himself. That's a gun crime because suicide is against the law. Give me a break. There's a very simple way to stop all of this. Vote these idiots out of office. Honestly. You know what I would love to see? And this is God's honest truth. And it's going to sound harsh. I would like to see every sitting politician right now get voted out of office in the next election. Every one of them. Clinton, Pelosi, the whole 9 yards. All of them. Vote them all, every single one of them, vote them all out of office and get a whole new bunch of people in there that's never had those seats.
I think that's the way it needs to be with all lifelong politicians, all career politicians. I think that we should pressure Trump because he's already mentioned something about it before. So I think that we should all be pressuring Trump that before he leaves office, he needs to sign something that like eliminates career politicians and limits the time to like what any politician can spend working for the government, right? To something like 4 or 8 years or something, right? Like in like one office, and then boom, you're done. Like you don't get to just like keep bouncing around and stuff with your money from like office. Like no, like boom, you're like okay, you're a senator for 8 years. Boom, now you're done. Like that's it. You're like no, you're done. Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you. Wholeheartedly.
I think that would stop a lot of the dirtiness and the filth that goes on, and in our politics and in our
and here's something else. It would make these idiots that's in office now think twice about passing stupid laws that's going to end up getting people killed, and that have already gotten people killed. Do we really want to pass a red flag law right now? Because if this backfires on us, well, in 2 years we could get voted out of office, and we only have 8. Then why would I want to waste the next 4 years?
Like,
because this is it for me. After this, I get voted out. Well, I can't run again. That's it. That's all. And that's the way it needs to be set up. It needs to be set up that if you've already held the office and you get voted out of the office, then you don't get to go back and run again.
For real, like how long has Feinstein been? Right, like how long has she been?
Since the dinosaurs were on the earth, somewhere around there. I think it was the last Tyrannosaurus Rex that actually got the vote to put her in there. You know what I mean?
Assumed office in 1992, bro. Okay, 1992. She leaves office because of her last election, 2025. Okay, is like the next time she has office now until 2025. So that means that she's been in office over 30 years.
And that's 30 years too damn long.
As a senator, yeah. As just a senator, right? And like that's just too long. And I think too much dirty, evil stuff goes on when you've been around that long, and you just
Well, how long? Think about this though. How long has the Clintons been in politics?
What's that?
How long have the Clintons been in politics?
Oh, their whole lives, ever since college. Yeah,
exactly.
Their whole lives. They were career politicians. That's what I'm saying, is that we need to end that. Like, okay, you want to be mayor? Okay, boom, now you're mayor, now you're done. Or you're governor, now you're done. That's it. Like, you don't get to just keep, like, staying in politics forever. Because do you want the person who has done every twisted, dirty thing that they can do to win and to be the president or the governor or whatever through their whole life? Or do you want the guy who's like, I don't even want to be president, right? But like I'm just gonna like do it, do a good job, boom, I'm done. Like I want the guy who doesn't even want to be president. I'm telling you, like that's the guy I want to be president.
You know what I've said? You know what I've said for years? I'd like to see a potato farmer from Idaho run for president. I'd vote for him. You know why?
You like a peanut farmer, like Jimmy Carter?
No. I know we don't need another Jimmy Carter. God, please.
He was a peanut farmer.
No, I just mean somebody that's down to earth, got a good head on their shoulders, and will lead the country with a common sense instead of who's padding the wallet the best.
Until we end career politicians, I don't think that nothing's going to change, no matter who the president is. There's too much power on the state levels, and because like look at California. It doesn't matter what fucking the president wants to. California is going to do whatever the fuck they want, right? It doesn't matter what the Constitution says. Like they've already gone against like so much. So, like, and we just need to end career politicians in general. Limit terms to low term rates. Like 4 8 years, you're done forever.
Let me ask you: Do you think California is a lost cause?
Oh yeah. California is never going to change back to a free state, and it's going to keep getting worse and worse. And have you ever seen like the documentary called "Escape from L.A."?
Yes.
Man, that's exactly what California is now. It basically is this escape from LA. And is
Yeah.
this going to get worse?
I love the way you called that a documentary, by the way. I love the way you called that a documentary. That's
Yeah.
because, yeah, it's pretty close. Once you're
No,
there,
I
you're
hate
stuck
to
and you
say
can't
it.
get
I
out.
don't think the people in California are a lost cause. I don't think they are, because I think a lot of them will continue to like basically kind of break the law or stay on the edge and try and like circumvent or loophole with different devices, right? And they're going to keep trying to stay ahead of the game, and but no matter what, they just keep getting more and more from them, and I see more and more of them leaving and talking about leaving, but I think California is a lost cause, not the people there. I think there will always be free people there that are going to do what they want, but or do what they believe is right. But the state in
I
general,
don't know.
yeah, come on, with Feinstein's there till 2025, dude. Come on, dude.
You look at a state like California, and there's good people living there, and you're on what you said. There's decent people there, but for every anti-gun law that's passed, more of these what we call decent people are becoming criminals,
Exactly, yeah.
and they've done absolutely nothing wrong at all. But because of stupid politicians passing stupid bills, these people who are law-abiding citizens are now on the other side and are considered criminals. Whereas if they would simply move to Texas, South Carolina, they're perfectly legal just by crossing a state line.
And I don't see it stopping with California.
It's
Like I
not
see
going to
it
stop
spreading
them.
like
Oh,
a
it's going to
cancer.
spread.
It's like a cancer. It really is. And I blame the media for it most. I really do. And I know there's someone pulling strings with an agenda behind that media, but I still blame the media. They're the ones who are spinning every little story and just I mean, they're the ones who are really pushing it. They are. It's really the mainstream media is like the worst enemy of the 2A. It really is.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I really do.
I think honestly, I think the mainstream media is more dangerous than any Democratic, senator or governor or congressman. Like the mainstream media is way more dangerous.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have been going for a little over an hour now. The Daily Gun Show is just about to get going. It might already be going. So we're going to jump off of here. I refuse to step on G Webb's toes too much tonight. I'd like to thank you all for stopping by, saying hello. And speaking of G Webb's, guys, be sure to support him and his channel. Go to gear websites, buy some stuff. Do what you can to support him. Let's get the Gun Show Lupo Tour back up and running this year. I want to see him hitting more gun shops and, doing what he does best on the ground floor of the gun rights movement. Gary, what you got to plug?
Foul Territory Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Early Bird Chat Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central. Also, my website is gizzardgary.com. So if you see fit to do so, please like, share, and subscribe. And likewise to everybody on the panel, especially Mr. The Outlaw Hatfield. Thanks for the invite.
Not a problem, brother. Dead Horse, what about you? You got anything going
on? This next Sunday, I'll probably have a open lobby gun chat.
Okay. You gonna start doing the reloading thing again?
Yeah. Now that I have more free time, and especially this summer when my boy leaves for boot camp, I'll have one less kid around. So yeah, that'll even free up more time.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Anyway, guys, we're getting out of here. God bless everybody. Stay safe. Be careful out there. It's a crazy world. People are idiots. We love you. Talk to you later.
Give him the bird.